On behalf of the Office of the Integrity Commission, led by our chairman, Lady Anande Trutman-Joseph, and the other commissioners, I say a welcome to all of you. Welcome to all our students and stakeholders who have just completed our march from Melville Street, Ariza, to the stadium, and I think you need to give yourselves a big, big round of applause. Done extremely well, and we're happy to be here. I welcome you to the third International Celebration, International Anti-Corruption Day, as Grenada joins the world in celebrating this day. It is fitting at this time, as we commence the second phase of our activity this morning, to invite the presence of the Lord in our midst. And to so do, I invite His Lordship, the Bishop Clyde Martin Harvey, who's a representative of the Conference of Churches. Your Lordship.
Good morning, my young friends. Let me hear you say good morning better than that. Right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Anti-Corruption Day. You all know what corruption is? You ever saw a dead body that was left on the ground for a day or so, even for a few hours? It begins to smell. And if the funeral agency comes to pick it up, or the police have, their own people have to pick it up, you have to handle it so that you don't get tainted by the smell. And this morning, as we begin, I want you to realize that all corruption stinks. And it's easy to smell the corruption of your own body or the body of somebody you see, or, That's easy to smell. But it's much more difficult to smell the corruption of the heart and the mind. And some of you already know that the corruption of the mind is all around us. When people say it's okay to lie as long as you can get away with it, that is corruption, and that is always wrong. The corruption of the heart. When you say you love people and you're doing this for love of them, but you're really doing it for yourself, that's wrong. And some of you know that already in your own hearts. I remember some years ago, a little girl in a religion class, when I asked her, I said, "Do you want to pray?" We were teaching them about prayer. And she was totally distracted. You say, "Me pray?" I didn't want to pray at all. Because my grandmother does pray, and she does cuss more than anybody else. She mouth stink. There's a corruption of the heart when you say you love, but you do all kinds of other things. The world is full of that corruption today. From the greatest of nations, the United States, Russia, China, when we read the stories, to the smallest ones here in the Caribbean as well as other small countries. Corruption is everywhere. And if the Integrity Commission focuses on you today, it is focusing on you because they understand that if you fall prey to the ideas that are around in the world today, everything is lost. So we have to turn to you and hope that you will understand more and more what corruption is, and even more what anti-corruption is. There's a movement in the United States today that says, when it comes to racism, it is not enough for you to say, "I am anti-racist." You must also be doing the things that make for change. Because a lot of people are saying, "I'm not a racist, I love everybody." But they're doing nothing to change the racism that is going on today in that country. So you must become the agents of a new world. And that is what I want you to pray about as we stand all together. And we ask God to help us to be people who never succumb to corruption, whether it is in our bodies, in our hearts, or in our minds. Change my heart, O Lord, make it ever new. Change my heart, O Lord, may I be like you. Change my mind, O Lord, make it ever true. Change my mind, O Lord, may I be like you. Yes, Lord. As we begin this exercise here in this place dedicated to one of our glorious sons, we ask you to be with us so that we may come to understand ever more deeply the work of the Integrity Commission, the sponsors of this event, and also the work that is to be done every single day here in Grenada if we are to be truly anti-corruption. Bless us, O Lord, as we go through this exercise this morning. Bless all the speakers. Bless these young people who in their innocent hearts will be our future. And help them not only to listen to what we say, but also to be guided by the deeper instincts of their hearts, the truth, the goodness, and the beauty which all of our young people have within them. We pray, O Lord, that the Integrity Commission may be clearer and even truer in its work. We pray that those who dispense justice in this land may understand what they are called to do. We pray that all those who seek justice may do so not simply for their own purposes, not simply so that they may feel righteous, but so that they may really be able to make a difference and help to transform our society. Lord, I know that even now you are touching hearts right here, right now. You are touching young people who are saying, I want to make a difference. Help them to be firm in their purpose. Send them men and women in their lives, even in their own families, who will teach them how to make a difference. And may they become for Grenada the strength and the wisdom that Grenada needs to continue to move forward, to continue to give of its best, so that the spirit of a new Grenada, a pure Grenada, not only in words, but in deeds and in the very fabric of our society, a pure Grenada, washed of its impurities, may find in this moment and in everyone here instruments that you, our God, can use to purify and to renew. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. So let's start with a little word for ourselves. I will make a difference. I will make a difference. Wherever I am, in my home, in my school, and above all in this country, I will make a difference for good, for beauty, for truth. Amen.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship. I now invite one of our commissioners, Commissioner Philbert Charles, to lead us in the national anthem. Commissioner Charles.
Heads, hearts, and hands in unity. Courage, aspire, build, advance as one people, one family. God bless our nation.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Charles. Please take your seats. Your Lordship, the Bishop Clyde Martin Harvey, and representatives from the Conference of Churches Grenada, representatives of the Alliance of Evangelical Churches, and I also want to make reference to Pastor Joachim Philip, who joined us earlier when we commenced our march. Chairperson of the Integrity Commission, Grenada, Lady Trotman Joseph, Anande Trotman Joseph. Deputy Chairman, Mr. Robert Robinson. Our other commissioners, and there are 5 other commissioners, make up a total of 7 for the commission. I want to also recognize representatives from the Office of the Ombudsman, representatives from the Audit Department, continuing with representation, the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing Office, our Financial Intelligence Unit, the Royal Grenada Police Force, Human Rights Grenada Incorporated, and with specific reference to Mr. Milton Coy, representatives from Grenada Media Association, students and teachers of our primary and secondary schools, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and finally, last but by no means least, I give recognition to the members of the Red Cross Society who accompanied us from the commencement through to the whole of the march to the stadium. So members from our Grenada Red Cross Society. On behalf of our chairman, commissioners, and of course our staff of the Integrity Commission, I again extend a very, very warm welcome and welcome to the second segment of our celebration, as together we celebrate International Anti-Corruption Day under the theme, Together We Unite Against Corruption. As we can see, it has started to rain slightly, but having had our bishop set the pace or the platform for this morning, we certainly thank God for the weather having held during our march. And I'm sure it will hold as we continue in this segment with our rally. At this time, I now invite Ambrielle Buckmeyer, who is a young student from Monjalou Roman Catholic School, accompanied by Jade Rodriguez, her colleague.
My name is Ambra Buckmeyer. I'm from the St. Joseph Primary Catholic School, Monjalou. What is integrity? Integrity is doing what is right and being a person who lives their life in an honest, fair, and just way. When we live with integrity, we care about doing the right thing and treating other people fairly. It is paying attention to God's law of love and to the rules and laws in society and making every effort to live by them, not trying to fool or treat others, but being kind and upright in what we do and say. A person of integrity can be easily trusted because they would not tell lies to get what they want or to cheat others. Integrity is living a godly life so we can hold our head up in society and live with others in peace and love. What is corruption? When integrity is not in a society, then we have corruption, or the breakdown of all that is good and honest. If there is corruption, it means there is lawlessness, bad behavior, and acting in a rotten way. It is dishonest and ugly. Corruption damages people and society very badly. Let us try to make Grenada a place of integrity and free from corruption. A people of God, I thank you.
As I mentioned in the salutations, we are joined by several of our stakeholders. And at this time, I now invite one of our stakeholders to share with us his message from the Human Rights Association Grenada. I now invite Mr. Milton Coy to the microphone.
With protocol already established, I would like to proceed, but I would like to make special reference to the Integrity Commission for hosting this event, trying to get us to understand and to get us involved in activism. The Grenada Human Rights Organization stands in solidarity with all organizations and agencies, locally, regionally, and internationally, who are today uniting in the efforts against corruption. Here in Grenada, the Integrity Commission has organized this event to raise awareness about the negative impacts of corruption and the need to fight corruption at all levels. We are also mindful that members of civil society are also registering their commitment in the fight to end corruption here in Grenada. Quote, corruption begets more corruption and fosters a cohesive culture of impunity. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption is among our primary tools for advancing the fight. Sustainable Development Goals number 16 and its targets also offer a template for action. That is according to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Today, with all civil society organizations and non-government organizations, community organizations and groups, we call for the perpetrators of all forms of corruption to be held accountable for their actions to the people they serve. We further believe that the full implementation of the good governance agenda should be priority for national development and to promote anti-corruption measures that can support national development. We cannot hope for sustainable development without peace, stability, human rights, and effective governance based on the rule of law. Today, our world is increasingly divided. Some regions enjoy peace, security, and prosperity, while others fall into similarly endless cycles of conflict and violence. The Grenada Human Rights Organization Incorporated believes that the fight against the practice of corruption should begin with each one of us as individuals. The SDGs aim to significantly reduce all forms of violence and work with governments and communities to end conflict and insecurity. Promoting the rule of law and human rights are key to this process, as is reducing the flow of illicit drugs and strengthening the participation of countries within the institutional global governance process. According to the United Nations, every year $1 trillion is paid in bribes, while an estimated 2.6 trillion are stolen annually through corruption, a sum equivalent to more than 5% of the global GDP. In developing countries, according to the United Nations Development Program, funds lost to corruption are estimated at 10 times the amount of official development assistance. In this region, we are witnessing unprecedented claims of corruption at the very highest levels of governance, a concern we all share as we observe this International Day, December 9th. Corruption is a serious crime and can undermine social and economic development in all societies. No country, no region or community is immune. This is a call for all citizens to become part of the fight against corruption and ensure that as a people we lead by example. Let us end the corruption at all levels, both in the public and private sectors. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coy, from our human rights organization. And I thank you for sharing, and I quote from you, that the fight against corruption, the practice of corruption, should begin with each one of us as individuals. Thank you, Mr. Milton Coy. As we indicated, we are celebrating International Anti-Corruption Day. And the international organizations who are at the helm of the commencement of these sort of developments throughout the world also give recognition to Integrity Commission Grenada and its work and function. At this time, I would like to invite our Commissioner, Mr. Winston James, member of the Commission, to share with us the message for today from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, coming from the Secretary General, Mr. James.
Good morning to everyone. Our Chairman of the Integrity Commission, Lady Anandi Trotman Joseph, Bishop Clyde Harvey, so it is nice to have you with us here. So, other commissioners, stakeholders, boys and girls, members of the media. Statement of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Statement of the Drugs and Crime on International Anti-Corruption Day. So, corruption affects people in their daily lives. It bars them from accessing resources and opportunities. It erodes trust in public institutions and compromises the social contract. In doing so, corruption thwarts our attempts at building a better world. As we enter a decade of ambitious action to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals on time, stepping up efforts to eradicate corruption and promote good governance, it is essential if we are to deliver on our global pledge to leave no one behind, to win the fight against corruption, is to create the conditions necessary to effectively combat poverty and the inequalities that stem from it. Notable progress has been made in the past 15 years on the criminalization of corruption and the recovery and return of stolen assets. Thanks to the almost universal ratified United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC. For 10 years now, implementation of the convention has benefited from a unique peer review mechanism, serving as a trigger for countries to launch legislative action, strengthen the institutions, and increase cooperation. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, helps the international community to translate the convention into effective action and advance the global anti-corruption agenda. An important part of this is assisting preparation for the first ever UN Assembly special session against corruption in 2021. In building inclusive momentum for this key occasion, we have to listen to the voices of the young people who are demanding transparency and moving the dial by taking action in their communities. We must capture full potential of innovation in the fight against corruption, harnessing technology for monitoring, reporting, raising awareness, and countering those who exploit it to enable their crimes. We cannot afford to let corruption threaten our future. Standing united against corruption, we are standing up for justice, protecting the rule of law, and increasing the chances that prosperity in our societies can be enjoyed by all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner James, for sharing the message received by Integrity Commission Grenada from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. And I think one takeaway, as I listened, we were advised that we must, and I quote, listen to the voice of young people. And indeed, the Integrity Commission is doing just that as we engage in this activity today and some other events that you will be hearing more of. At this time, I would like to invite a young student from the Corinth Government School, Ms. Shania Peters, to share with us her contribution by way of a poem. Let us please applaud Shania as she comes forward. Shania is also accompanied by her colleague, Ms. Kasha John. Shania?
Auntie.
Yes, darling.
You know, corruption raises its ugly head everywhere, roaming throughout without any fear. Corruption is now a global catastrophe in Africa, Europe, Asia, even the small islands of the Caribbean Sea. Auntie.
Yes, darling.
Corruption has the whole world on the go. It enriches itself while its relatives remain so. Countries are left war-stricken and poor. Families are gunned down right outside their door, while mothers mourn for the lives of their children, and our youths are in the state of mayhem. Time to stamp out corruption and say no. We, the masses, cannot take any more. Through education, we will fight this battle. Corruption we are about to tackle. We are sick and tired of all these tricks, while people take this corruption as kicks. So in our anti-corruption boots, we the anti-corruption troops are ready to stamp out corruption in every strata of society. We are standing for accountability, good governance, and transparency. Together, let us eradicate corruption from this beautiful Spice Island. Say no to corruption.
Let's hear it. I think we need a big round of applause for the persons who are stamping out corruption from the Corinth Government School. And I would now like to invite our Deputy Chairman, Mr. Robert Robinson, to share with us the message that we have received from the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Secretariat as we celebrate this day. Deputy Commissioner Robert Robinson.
Good morning all. Ladies, gentlemen, children, I want to first of all welcome our chairman, or at least refer to our chairman, Lady Ananda Trotman Joseph, and our special guest, the Lord Bishop, and make reference to all the youngsters, the children who are here with us and who have accompanied students from various primary and secondary schools, and to thank them for the contributions which they have made so far. I consider it a distinct honor to have been asked to read this message, which came from the Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, QC, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Fighting corruption continues to be one of the top priorities for the Commonwealth. Every year, $1 trillion in bribes is paid, while an estimated $2.6 trillion are stolen annually through corruption. And that 5%, that $2.6 trillion is a sum equivalent to more than 5% of the global GDP. In developing countries, according to the United Nations Development Program, funds lost to corruption are estimated at 10 times the amount of official development assistance. Corruption is a serious crime that can undermine social and economic development in all societies. No country, region, or community, let alone our Commonwealth, is immune from corruption. It is also one of the biggest impediments to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We also know that corruption begets more corruption and fosters a corrosive culture of impunity. It corrodes all facets of efforts to grow and prosper. That is why the Commonwealth has been active in providing practical, technical assistance and development support for national anti-corruption agencies to build their effectiveness in dealing with corruption. In 2016, very soon after I took up the responsibilities of Secretary General, remember I said this is the message from the Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, QC, who is the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. So soon after she took up responsibilities of Secretary General, she convened the Commonwealth Tackling Together Conference. It drew attention in particular to the need for a simple pan-Commonwealth tool to provide practical guidance on clear steps that can be taken to promote integrity and combat corruption within government and in private sector organizations. So she is delighted to report that they, in the Commonwealth Secretariats, have responded to the need. So through a consultative process with member countries in the Commonwealth, they have developed a Commonwealth a process which assists the refinement against corruption. The package consists of a set of 22 benchmarks covering topics from sanctions for corruption offenses to investigating and prosecuting authorities, and from political lobbying to disclosure of asset ownership. Indeed, the Commonwealth package is the first document of which we are aware that connects all the areas of public and private conduct covered by our 22 benchmarks. Although designed to be achieved nationally, compliance with some benchmarks can also be demonstrated by private sector organizations. For example, that on organizational anti-corruption systems. This will provide enterprises desirous to engage in procurement processes and pan-Commonwealth trade with a recognized standard of attainment and compliance. The Commonwealth anti-corruption work employs a three-pronged approach, which involves research, capacity building, and networking. This is being delivered through a strategy of establishing regional anti-corruption agency networks and training centers, facilitating closer cooperation and learning towards attaining SDG 16, which calls for the promotion of peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provision of access to justice for all, and building of effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. The Commonwealth Caribbean Association of Integrity Commissions and Anti-Corruption Bodies was created by the Commonwealth Secretariat in 2015 in collaboration with the Grenada Integrity Commission. The networks promote collaboration and the exchange among member countries of best practice and of practitioners. They also assist with peer review and with measuring the capabilities of agencies against benchmarks. I am happy to note that the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, and his government has demonstrated leadership, not only in his efforts to rid of corruption in Grenada, but has been valuable partner for Commonwealth anti-corruption work in the Caribbean. Grenada has provided training center facilities for the Commonwealth to deliver key capacity building programs for institutions in the region, and has promoted Grenada as center of excellence in anti-corruption work in the Caribbean. Let me extend my sincere thanks to Prime Minister Mitchell and Grenada for this stalwart support. The Commonwealth also recognizes the benefits Grenada's Integrity Commission's efforts to leverage synergies between all anti-corruption agencies in Grenada and those they have achieved, as well as the development of a national anti-corruption strategic plan. As the Integrity Commission is hosting a week of activities to mark UN International Anti-Corruption Day, I wish to encourage the Commission to continue the path it has set itself to rid Grenada of corruption. The Commonwealth will continue to collaborate with the Commission to build a foundation of trust and accountability, to educate and empower citizens, promote transparency, and strengthen international cooperation. So, let us work together with renewed vigor in hope and harmony to bring health and wholeness to our Commonwealth. As we observe the United Nations International Anti-Corruption Day, let us continue to take a stand against corruption and support Grenada in achieving greater prosperity and resilience. And this, ladies and gentlemen, students, this is the message from the Right Honorable Patricia Scotland, QC, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairman, Mr. Robert Robinson, for sharing with us. I just want to repeat one aspect that Mr. Robinson shared as it relates to the Commonwealth Secretariat's work. And in 2020, the Commonwealth Secretariat invited a number of experts. 2019, I'm going ahead, just checking if you're listening. 2019, a selected group of experts were invited to review the Commonwealth package. We heard about the benchmarks which address anti-corruption activities and standards for both private and public sector. And you may have recalled, he indicated that it spanned from scrutinizing corruption, practices of corruption, to investigations. And what I want to share is that our own Lady Anande Trotman-Joseph, Chairman of our Integrity Commission, Grenada, was one of the selected experts to engage in this exercise. So I think we'll give her a big round of applause, please. So we have come to the last message for this morning's activity as we continue in the celebration of our International Anti-Corruption Day activity. At this time, it is my pleasure to invite our very hard-working chairman of the Integrity Commission, who I'm sure is well pleased with what she has witnessed thus far for this year's event. I invite Lady Anande Trotman-Joseph, Chairman of the Integrity Commission, Grenada, to share with us her message. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And let me just say good morning to all of you who are gathered here today. I welcome you all, and I especially recognize His Lordship Bishop Clive Martin Harvey and the representatives of the Conference of Churches of Grenada, Pastor Joachim Phillip representing the Alliance of Evangelical Churches. We recognize our fellow stakeholders, and we have with us today representatives from the Ombudsman Office, from the Audit Department, the Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing Office, representatives from the Financial Intelligence Unit, representatives of the Royal Grenada Police Force, representatives of civil society. In particular, we recognize Mr. Milton Coy, who shared a message. And we also had with us representatives from the Grenada Media Association. But today we especially recognize you, boys and girls, and your teachers who took the time to come and march through the streets of St. George's this morning. Because of that march and because of you, I'm really pumped and excited to be addressing you at the end of that march and during this rally. I don't know about you, but I'm still remembering the chants, and I'm one of them who was saying, please, let's keep the chants going so we keep the energy. Stop, stop, stop the corruption. Stop, stop, stop the corruption. Let's hear it from you. Stop, stop, stop the corruption. Stop, stop, stop the corruption. We can't start just chanting and we don't continue to remember what we are chanting about. Because your chants that you were chanting and that were composed by you, the schools, remind us that we share a vision that corruption in Grenada must be no more. We know that for many of you from the schools, this is your end of term, and you've made many adjustments to join us, to send this message to Grenada and to the world that corruption is unacceptable. Today, we are marching and rallying to tell our fellow citizens that we must resist the temptation to be dishonest, to be deceitful, to receive bribes. And by bribes, boys and girls, I mean paying someone to do something or give you something that you are not entitled to receive. We are marching today, we are rallying today, because every single year, trillions of dollars are lost. That is money that could be used for building beautiful schools, for your education, for ensuring that we have the best hospitals and doctors. But a lot of this money, trillions they say, are being lost because they're being paid out as bribes in our public service and in governance of our globes, our world's societies. That means we citizens are being robbed. So today, our commissioners, and I do recognize them, they are here with us, and I recognize with me, joining with these remarks, our Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Robert Robinson, Commissioners Hill, Augustine, Charles, James, and Redhead, along with our small, hard-working professional and technical team. So we came up with some discussions and words that we want to share with our stakeholders and our children of Grenada. And in particular, we are reminded of a very famous saying now by someone who is supposed to be very wise, from long ago in history, and his name was Confucius. He was associated with wisdom, and he said, if you plan for 1 year, plant rice. If you want to plan for 10 years, plant trees. If you want to plan for 100 years, educate children. So that is why we made sure that today we asked you, boys and girls and young people, to be a part of our activities, because you are really Grenada's greatest assets. And especially at your ages, we want to ensure that we are able to tell you that stamping out corruption must start very, very early in your school life, all the way through your tertiary education and into the world of work. It is you students who gave us our logo, and you students who gave us our beloved mascot who welcomed us here this morning, our mascot called Trusty Megsy. And some of you here today have entered the Commission's jingle competition. And I can't wait to hear those winning beats, because those beats will become Grenada's anti-corruption message. You have embraced the call to display your talents and creativity so that you young people will leave your stamp as we stamp out corruption in Grenada. You have displayed your placards calling on our nation and calling on us, each other, to end corruption. And you are helped and you are judged not only by your teachers who brought this first, perhaps, placard and then the music, but we do have judges here with us today, and we thank them for coming out, and they have been facilitated by the Ministry of Culture, and we really salute and thank you, because I, for one, believe that one of the ways to change our behavior is through our culture. I want to remind all of us today that we have power. Yes, we have power. The power to say no. I repeat, the power to say no to temptation. When someone offers to pay you not to tell, or to keep quiet when you are encouraged to do something wrong, or when someone offers to buy you lunch or a gift if you do their exams for them or their compositions, or when someone in society, usually a public official, demands money or a bribe for a product or service that is usually free or usually less than what they're asking you for. When we yield to these kinds of temptation, that is when we will bring our integrity into question. So today, along with my colleagues of the Integrity Commission, I am reaching out to all of you stakeholders to ask that together we ensure that starting in our schools' curricula, in our churches, and many of these schools are church schools, in our messaging, in our calypsos, in our soca, that we put emphasis on curricula and lyrics that teach especially our young people and remind our adults that integrity, our integrity, is about understanding what is right and wrong, and understanding that we must be accountable for our actions, and we must be responsible in our behavior and have respect for the rule of law. However, it is not just up to our teachers to impart these values. It is not just up to the Integrity Commission to impart integrity. We can't do that. In fact, our value systems are really shaped by our parents, our guardians, and influenced by all the adults, including the national leaders and role models who have a responsibility to conduct themselves in a way that the children who are looking on can mirror the highest values. We of the Integrity Commission, we have been doing our part. Our hard-working technical team has been collaborating with both national and international stakeholders. And these stakeholders include the law enforcement agencies, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Director of Audit, the Ombudsman and Ombudsman's Office, and the Procurement Department. We have also received technical assistance from the Commonwealth Secretariat, the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, the Government and People of Singapore, and our own Commonwealth Caribbean Association of Integrity Commissions and anti-corruption bodies. Our work has been showcased globally. Only this year, we have been asked to share with Latin American and Caribbean heads of parliaments and parliamentarians about what we do. We've been asked to contribute about setting standards as to how to manage corruption and to tackle it in our society. And we have been doing quite a lot of training. Now, I know that you have been sitting for a very long time after marching through a very hot morning and also being wet sometimes by the rain. So I will come now more quickly to concluding my address to you this morning. But before I end, I just want us to remember a few things. These things I want you to take away. Children, are you listening? Let me hear who's listening over this side. Who is listening over this side? Who is listening there? Not hearing you. Who is listening in the middle? Who is listening in the middle? Yes, that's the attitude we must have when we're fighting this corruption, okay? I want us to remember as we go away today, after we would have had a little music and eats and drinks and so on, that all of us, not only the children but the adults, all of us have the responsibility to act with integrity. And that is to make the choice, the right choice. Know when to choose what is right when people are asking you to choose what is wrong. This is integrity. And when you have this integrity, this is how we will stop the spread of corruption in Grenada. We must say no when persons tempt us to do things that are wrong and corrupt. We must be honest. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we must be honest. This fight about corruption that you keep hearing about, and right and wrong and so on, it involves everyone, all of us, not just school children, but parents too, teachers, parliamentarians, government workers, civil society, non-governmental and service organizations. It is not just we of the Integrity Commission that must be in the ring in this fight against corruption. I want to close with a quote that I want you to take away. If you have your phone, your tablet, a little note, I want you to remember this quote as I begin to wrap up. If it is not yours, don't take it. If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. If we internalize this, I'm going to repeat this, because I want you to pay attention, especially you boys and girls, because in schools in Scandinavia, and when you go back to school, I want you to ask Miss to take out her geography book or to go online and tell you where Scandinavia is if you don't know. The schools have their children repeating this quotation over and over at break time and at lunchtime. If it is not yours, don't take it. If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. So when you go back to school, ask Miss to get a copy of this little quotation so that you all can say it every break time, every lunchtime. When you have assemblies, ask somebody to say it. That is how we are going to change our culture of corruption and temptation in our society. As we come to the end of our year, 2019, I know that in our homes, many of us will begin to decorate. We do a lot of cleaning, putting up brand new curtains. We go to court, some of us, we get furniture. It's an exciting time. But I'm encouraging you as well to take some time out, everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, to make a conscious decision to do some inside cleaning. Some of us may have to take a right turn to do our best and to do things better. Some of us may have to take a left turn in terms of our attitudes and behaviors. But some of us may have to make 180 degrees or 360-degree turns. So, what I'm trying to tell you, especially students, don't just let the cover of your assignments look fancy. What's inside of those covers, the actual assignment, do your best. For our public workers, let us not pretend to be busy while we are doing nothing, especially when the supervisor or manager passes. But as soon as their back turns, you are sending out WhatsApp or Instagram until 4 o'clock, and then you go home. Leaders and managers, do not pretend to be nice when you are really being mean to those who follow you or work for you. Be genuine. Be transformational leaders. Let all of us gathered here today stand. I ask you all to stand up. We've been sitting for a long time. Let's stand up. Let's stand up. Raise up your banners. Stand up. And I'm asking you to stand up because I'm asking you to unite together to fight corruption in Grenada. Some of us are pumped. I see, okay, we are going to fight against corruption. Today, let us all take a stand. Let us all commit to making those changes first inside. And when we make those inside changes to do what is right, to resist the temptations, then we take a stand to stamp out corruption in Grenada, the Caribbean, and the world. Thank you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us of the Integrity Commission and all of our Commonwealth partners and global partners in taking a stand against corruption. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Lady Anande Trotman Joseph, and thank you for that reminder that we all need to take a stand against corruption. I will just share with you some of the guidelines that were established for the jingle competition. As we know, we shared earlier that the Commission has indeed held a logo competition and we now have a logo for the office. And if you go past our office, Archibald Avenue, you would see the sign up that says Office of the Integrity Commission. And that logo, Office of the Integrity Commission, and the logo came about as a result of a national competition which was won by 2 members of our secondary schools. In addition, you have met our mascot. The mascot competition, again, was won by 2 of our secondary schools. We then had the naming of the mascot, and you'll hear more about that a little later, because that competition was won by our primary schools. And today we are going into our 4th competition, which is that of the jingle competition. So indeed, the Integrity Commission is engaging our young persons as it pertains to understanding what corruption is all about and how we engage in anti-corruption measures. And remember, we were advised that it starts with each and every one of us. So the jingle competition was open to all students of our secondary school. And each secondary school will be represented by 2 students. Each school was allowed to have 1 entry for the competition. We had guidelines for the lyrics that we'll be hearing. These lyrics should not contain any rude or vulgar words, and students must adhere to this rule, otherwise there would be automatic disqualification from the competition. Now we have our judges, but you, our students, are also here to ensure that we are sticking to the rules. And if we want them disqualified, you just make some noise and they will be disqualified if we hear these rude or vulgar words. The jingle will be in English, and each jingle would not exceed 45 seconds of playtime. The competition, the process prior to being here this afternoon included the completion of the competition forms, etc. And all of that was dealt with in accordance with the guidelines that were set. We have our judges here ready and waiting to go. I shall announce them shortly as we engage in this aspect of this morning's activity. And let me share with you, we have a very, very attractive prize for the school that wins this jingle competition. And in addition, I would have shared earlier that we were also engaging in a slogan competition, and you would have seen the judges as we were en route from Ariza Credit Union to the stadium. Our judges were very, very busy making their assessment to determine the school that would win the slogan competition this morning. And just to share with you, our judges for the jingle competition include Mr. Adrian Mark, Mr. Irvin Hood, and Mr. Sam Ogilvie. These are our 3 judges for the jingle competition. Okay, so I'm advised by the technical persons we're almost ready to listen and enjoy the Boca Secondary School band. Thereafter, we'll go into our judging competition for the jingle, the winning jingle for the Integrity Commission. Thank you.
Smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitch by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of Lilith and pure and true. Singing, oh, this is my message to you. Singing away about a day.
start our jingle competition, I invite our first secondary school in this aspect of the competition to now share with us their jingle. St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's.
Report it, report it, report it, do not support it. Corruption is robbing our economy. People are gaining from dishonesty. Abuse of power for private gain is going to cause our country pain. It's robbing education, healthcare, and dreams. Fraud and theft, we need to report it. Bribery, we need to report it. Favoritism, we need to report it. Intimidation, it's reported. Report it. Report it. Do not support it.
So our next performing school would be Beacon High School.
Corruption is like a flu. Anti-corruption is that's with you. Let's make a vow to treat it now. Extortion on the rise, let's stop it. Embezzlement, let's reject it. We must all unite to stop its flight, to save this land from corruption. Let's all show more interest in our nation's business. We need more honesty and transparency. So let's unite to cure this blight.
Beacon would now be followed by St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School.
Time getting hard, people going insane. It's time to start an anti-corruption campaign. We do it for later, begging to clean up Grenada. While that's a good practice, we need to clean public office. Hold them accountable, let them answer to the people. For transparency, good governance, make a girl-free nation. It is time for firm action. In this Spice Island, let us stamp out corruption. Things have to get better. All Grenada must prosper. In this Spice Island, unite against corruption. We have to be Grenada. Grenada is home. Thank you.
St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School. Now invite J.W. Fletcher Secondary School.
Stop the corruption. Integrity Commission, all about anti-corruption, helping to build a nation, our people, our ambition. Man, we must have honesty and responsibility, and we must be trustworthy and have plenty of loyalty. So let us join together, our brothers and the sisters. Oh, and Jack, don't join with me. Let us harness the integrity.
Let's hear it for J.W. Fletcher, Catholic Secondary School, interrupting his two colleagues while they were engaging in some form of corruption. So, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, our judges and members of the public who may have joined us by now for this segment of our prize-giving competition and recognition of our participants for today's activity. So we're going to commence with the certificate of appreciation. May I invite Abrielle Buckmeyer to the stage, please, to receive your certificate of appreciation, and invite Commissioner Bertie Hill to make this presentation. Our second certificate of appreciation, Shania Peters. And we invite Commissioner James to make this presentation. Certificate of Appreciation to J.W. Fletcher Secondary Schools Drum Corps. J.W. Fletcher Secondary Schools Drum Corps. Our next certificate of appreciation goes to the Boca Secondary School Musical Band. So if we can have a representative from the Boca Secondary School Musical Band. Our next certificate of appreciation, St. Joseph's RC School, Montrouge, the Drum Corps. May we have a representative? And this certificate will be presented by Chairman Lady Trotman Joseph. We all would have met our mascot as we came into the stadium, and I am pleased to share with you that the winning schools for the naming of the mascot are Corinth Government School and St. Joseph's Roman Catholic School, Montjaloux. So if we can have representatives from Corinth Government School and St. Joseph's RC School, Montjaloux. And the second presentation to St. Joseph's Roman Catholic School, Montjaloux. So we're now moving very quickly into our poster competition, and our judges have made their final decision, and I want to share with you that the poster competition from presentations this morning was won by, and the winning school will be in receipt of a Acer laptop with Windows 8 operating software with 500 gigabytes of storage, which was donated by Bryden Miners. And this winning school of the slogan competition, who would now receive their prize, St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. So our slogan poster competition was both for secondary and primary schools. I now move to the winners of the poster competition for the primary school. And this winning primary school of the poster competition from this morning's march and exercise, St. Paul's Government School. May we have a couple of representatives, please, to receive your prize, which is a huge hamper of school supplies. At this time, we're moving now to the final presentation of prizes for this afternoon. Now we've moved into our afternoon segment. We are now poised to share with you the winners of our jingle competition. The winning school of the jingle competition, and the school will receive a color LaserJet wireless network color printer, which was donated from Hankey's Computer Store. And I understand it's a state-of-the-art printer. The winning school of today's jingle competition, which will now be the property of the Integrity Commission, our winning school, St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. And the prizes will be presented by a representative from our judges. The state-of-the-art color laserjet printer, Mr. Ogilvy, representing the judges. St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. And that's the prize for the school. May I invite the second student who participated in the jingle presentation to join us? Can I just have somebody to receive on her behalf? And this presentation would be made by our chairman, Lady Anande Trotman-Joseph. The students would receive, one student would receive a Samsung Galaxy phone, and the other student a starter account from Republic Bank. So, St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. We give them a big round of applause, please. I now invite Mrs. Dawn Walker, Compliance Officer at the Integrity Commission, who was also the lead project officer for this event, to share with us the vote of thanks. Mrs. Dawn Walker.
Chairperson of the Integrity Commission, other commissioners, representatives from our distinct stakeholders, members of the Red Cross, our judges, students, teachers, all, good afternoon. I begin to say thanks to God Almighty for all of us here today. I am honored to say thanks to each and every one of you. And our theme this afternoon, Together We Unite Against Corruption, is such a practical one as we come from the different strata of society as advocates to speak to the fight against corruption. So we thank our bishop, who has already left, and our pastor, Philip, for invoking God's presence, our commissioner for leading us in the national anthem, and of course, our stakeholders, civil society partner, for sharing with us and inviting us a clarion call to fight against corruption. To you, the students, the nexus of this celebration, it couldn't have happened without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your involvement offers a promising future. Contributors to our celebration, Hankey's Computer Store Services, Brighton Miners, Flow Grenada, Republic Bank Grenada, J.W. Fletcher Jump Corps, and the school as well, St. Joseph R.C. Monjaloo Jump Corps, and also the student who graced us with a poem, Ms. Buckmeyer, current government, a poem by Shania Peters, Boo Bubble Rentals, of course, for the logistics and the setting up, Boca Secondary School Musical Band. We have only heard a little from them, but of course, they will keep the rhythm going because they will play a bit for us as we leave here this afternoon. To the leaders of this celebration, the Integrity Commission Chairman, Lady Trotman-Joseph, and the other commissioners, we thank you for taking charge of this cultural shift, striving to create a culture of integrity. And most of you will know the Commission's favorite quote is, "Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching," by C.S. Lewis. So to you, fellow colleagues, staff of the Commission, thank you, thank you. If you look around you, all this is possible because of your commitment and selflessness. Thank you for all the hard work. Ladies, gentlemen, children, together we unite against corruption. Thank you all and have a good afternoon.